In a harsh and unforgiving battlefield, where every second could be the last, tactical drone operators from Novem Group and Balista SSO once again demonstrated aerial dominance. Video footage circulated shows a series of deadly FPV attacks on enemy infantry and vehicles. Enemies who attempted to flee were not spared. They simply died of exhaustion. Novem Group and Balista continue to strengthen the front lines, proving that on the modern battlefield, enemy infantry and engineering are increasingly struggling to withstand the threat of fast, cheap, and deadly FPV drones. In the dry, dusty wind of the battlefield, a dark blue enemy Jeep pickup speeds along a dirt road riddled with potholes and cracks. The vehicle carries panicked infantry trying to escape the danger zone. The operator of the Baboon 1 FPV drone coldly locked onto its target, the drone hurtling down from a high altitude, its engines roaring like the Grim Reaper. With terrifying precision, the drone slammed directly into the side of the vehicle, a powerful explosion sending flames and metal fragments flying in all directions. The Jeep bounced, its wheels flying off, and the vehicle's hull shattered into pieces, marking the iron grave for its crew. The surviving infantry scattered, but their fate was already written in the sky. In the second strike, the drone's camera shifted to a sweeping panorama of the barren battlefield. A Russian military vehicle loomed in the distance, traveling along the dirt track connecting their positions. "Bomb armed" appeared on the screen. The bomb was ready. The drone dove sharply from a high altitude, leaving a faint trail of smoke. The explosion occurred directly beside the target. Dust and smoke billowed. The vehicle flipped over and burst into flames, and debris flew like a rain of fire. This attack demonstrated the operator's ability to hit moving targets from long range with deadly accuracy, destroying the enemy's hopes of a safe retreat. Amidst the ruins of buildings destroyed by the previous battle, an enemy vehicle attempted to take cover behind dry trees and a collapsed wall. Moments later, an FPV drone approached at high speed, struck its target, and a second ba-boom blast erupted. Yellow-orange flames erupted from the wreckage, followed by thick black smoke billowing into the sky. The vehicle was completely destroyed. Its body split open, its wheels flying, and debris flying through the air. The sound of the explosion echoed across the desolate terrain, a symphony of victory for the Ukrainian drone force. Infantry in the surrounding area were forced to run helter-skelter through the rubble with no safe haven. In the climactic scene, two enemy vehicles were seen moving along the same dirt track. The first drone approached and struck the lead vehicle, causing a massive explosion that halted the convoy instantly. A second vehicle attempted to evade the attack, but was too late, turning both targets into fiery balls of smoke and dust that engulfed the area. This series of explosions confirmed the effectiveness of the one drone, one target tactic, or in this case, a series of attacks that left no breathing space for the enemy. Novem Group and the soft ballistas continued to turn every enemy movement into a precision strike opportunity. The future of warfare truly belonged to those who controlled the skies. Seven months after capturing the city of Siversk in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast, Russian forces are inching toward their next objective on the hard road to the ultimate prize, Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, the last two big free cities in Donetsk. The Russians' advance around the city of Liman, 20 kilometers northeast of Siversk, is both bad news and good news for Ukraine. Yes, the Russians are closer to Liman and thus closer to Sloviansk, but it's taken them far longer than anyone anticipated to close that gap. and time isn't necessarily on the Russian side as Ukrainian drones strike deeper and harder. Since marching through the ruins of Siversk in mid-December, Russian attacks have nudged the disputed gray zone halfway toward Lyman, 20 kilometers to the west. The current situation is not very good for Ukraine in this direction, mapper Clément Mollin noted. Having captured Siversk and earlier Soledar and Bakhmut, Russian commanders have a very good accumulation possibility, Mollin pointed out. That is, they have plenty of urban bases where they can hide troops and equipment. It helps that the Russians have also captured disused mine complexes that can function as secure, largely drone-proof bases. It is therefore easier to have troops ready for assault at any moment, Mollin explained. Mollin concluded the Russians' goal is to march through or around Lyman, consolidate control over the town of Mykolaiivka and nearby Rai-Oleksandrivka, and begin heavily bombarding Ukrainian supply lines no later than the end of the year. That could position the Russians to assault Sloviansk in 2027. The attacks on Ukrainian supply lines around Lyman are already intensifying, forcing the Ukrainian garrison to rely on unmanned ground vehicles for much of its resupply. At the same time, recall that the Russian bombardment of supply lines into Kostiantynivka forced that city's garrison to switch to robotic resupply. The switch was a harbinger of the eventual Ukrainian retreat from Kostiantynivka in recent weeks. But the Russians aren't the only ones attacking the enemy's supply lines. This spring, at the urging of sacked former Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukrainian drone units intensified their strikes on Russian trucks, trains, and ships, hauling supplies to frontline regiments and brigades.
Я степликом, сука, бачу!
The Ukrainian counter-logistics middle strikes have been most successful in southern Ukraine, where Russian supply lines are longest, most exposed, and most fragile. But they're having an effect in eastern Ukraine, just not very quickly. Russian logistics in the east are hit very hard, but it's obviously not enough to slow the momentum. But there's a silver lining inside the storm clouds gathering over Liman and Sloviansk. As recently, Russian commanders had planned to bypass Liman from the north and south in order to form what mapper Vitali called a western claw, one that could crush Liman and then reach for Sloviansk as early as this year. The stout Ukrainian defense of Liman, coupled with targeted Ukrainian counterattacks north of the city, broke the claw. Now the Russians need to build a new one and hope for a fresh opportunity to assault Sloviansk next year, and Kramatorsk would be next. All that is to say, Ukrainian defenders in and around Liman have bought time that Ukrainian drone units could use to escalate their counter-logistics campaign and weaken the grip of the new Russian claw forming around the city. Overall, whether they can strike hard enough and often enough along the supply lines threading towards Siversk and the Liman front to foil the Russians' 2027 plans is one of the most pressing questions of the war's 53rd month. The drones can't stop the Russian advance on Liman, but they can make it so slow and so costly that Sloviansk stays free into 2027 and beyond. On the evidence so far, that's the...
Стоп! Идем. Все, стоп. Все, здесь они нас не видят. Сука, наши сзади, да, стреляют?